What up, everybody? It's your girl July from Kickback Couture. Today, I want to put together a Combinator 2.0 tutorial, so to speak. I did one a few months ago, and I said I would do a part 2. So this is part 2. It will be focused more on CV, which is control voltage. So I'm just going to hop right into it. There are 3 types of control voltage. The first type is note, as in C, D, E, F, whatever the case may be. The second is going to be velocity, so that is whether the note is playing on, off, or light or hard. And then the third is going to be curve. So I'm going to show you those 3 different types of control voltage. Now, here I have a piano, and I'm no longer going to be touching my keyboard at all because I want to demonstrate control voltage. Alright, so I'm going to combine this piano here, and I'm going to add a matrix. And then I'm going to hit play. Now, ideally, we want this matrix to play this piano. But one thing I want to tell you is that this ID8 doesn't have inputs for CV. So what we have to do is put this into the Combinator CV. So we're going to take our note and put that on CV in and our gate. So now our matrix is controlling the Combinator as a whole. Now that is note, and this would be velocity down here. It lets you control velocity. Let's go ahead and slow down the steps to, let's do 4 steps instead of 16 so we can hear what's going on. It's going to gradually get louder during the 4 steps, and we can change the resolution as well. Let's go a bit slower. Now with each of those steps, the velocity changes. The third type of CV would be curve, and if you wanted to curve, then we'd be looking at this here. Now, there is no input on this piano for curve, but we can use, which we will use the Combinator to initiate an example of using curve. So let's draw something in. If you flip to the back side, we can change it from bipolar to unipolar. Let's do bipolar. And you see that bipolar allows you to have negative values and positive values. And unipolar only allowed us to go, from 0 up to a positive or higher value. So 0 and up, whereas bipolar allowed us to go negative and positive. And you can see that in the little diagram here. Now let's route this curve to, let's go curve CV into rotary 1 on the Combinator. Now let's go up to the face, turn around to the face of the Combinator, and let's have rotary 1 control in the keys, this piano. Let's have rotary 1 control. Let's do the mod wheel, which is like a filter on here. And you see it's swinging right now. And this is at 4 steps, so it's not going to do too much. Now we've successfully modulated the note, the gate, which is the velocity, and the curve. So those are 3 different types of CV. Now let's get more into the Combinator. I'm going to erase this. Let's go ahead and grab us a patch from the Galaxy preset bank. Let's go with this bell, gifted, and then let's drop on a MIDI clip. So let's go into Drenched by Design, and let's grab opposites, and I'm going to put that where this is. Where is it at? Down here. Right? And I'm going to shut that. Let's choose a different patch so we can hear some notes clearer. Let's find one with a different timbre. Alright, cool. I turned it down because it was clipping. Alright, that's cool. So let's combinate this. Let's select the Europa, and then I'm gonna right click and click on combine. Now, what we were messing with previously was these inputs right here for the CV. Now, if you notice, there are two different areas for us to input CV control voltage. So right here where it says modulation input, mod wheel, pitch wheel, rotary 1, anything you put into these up here will control the face of the combinator, whereas anything you put here will not, and it'll also allow you to have a bipolar and unipolar signal. So I lost my words for a second. So let's go ahead and add a few devices that we'd want to modulate the Europa with. Now, obviously, we still have a lot of room for modulation inside of Europa itself. So let's just act as if everything inside of Europa was used and we wanted to utilize external modulation via control voltage. So let's grab grain. Now, we can use a variety of different instruments and effects to modulate control voltage. What you want to do is pay attention to the back of your instruments and effects devices and see what has what. So for built-in devices, I want to go into instruments and I want to grab grain. Then we'll flip to the back and you'll see grain has 4 CV inputs and 4 CV outputs. Now we want to use grain to control Europa, so we're going to be using the CV outputs. But just in case, I want to start with something simpler, and let's go grab subtractor. And I'm going to drag this up, and we see our modulation outputs here are LFO1, filter envelope, and mod envelope. We can use LFO1 to control something. Let's do that first. I'm going to put this into our pitch wheel here, and then I'm going to hit play. And you notice that this is immediately modulating the pitch wheel of the combinator. And if I put it into the mod wheel, it will modulate that. And you see it swinging back and forth. Now back into the pitch wheel. You see that as well. Alright, now if I wanted to go into modulation without affecting anything on the face, any mod wheels, any rotaries, or anything like that, I would utilize these programmer CV ins here. So let's go CV1, and we're going to use LFO. We're going to continue to use LFO1 from the subtractor, and inside of the Combinator programmer, we're going to map what we want CV1 to control inside of Europa. Or we can even go into, let's add a Kong device. I'll do that in a second. I don't want to confuse you. So let's take CV1 from, okay, yeah, Europa's here. And we're going to go CV input 1. And we want to send that to a destination in Europa. Now, since we went in here, we can do that. So CV input 1, let's take that and control the filter frequency. And you see that swinging back and forth now. Now, if we let's take another subtractor. I keep going to effects on accident. Let's take another subtractor, and let's take this LFO1 and put this into rotary 1, and I'll show you the difference between going into CV1 here and rotary 1 here. Now, because we went to rotary 1, we'll have to start with the source as rotary 1. So let's send that target to, let's go amp gain, and let's change the rate on this. So this is the second subtractor we created. We can change the rate. So I'm going to have it sync. Let's have it go up gradually and slow down the rate. See, it gradually gets louder. Now, if we wanted to do something that made more sense musically, we could. Let's go ahead and find something else this could work with. Engine 1, octave. We could change the octave. Let's see what that would sound like. And let's go ahead and change this first one where we have the filter frequency being modulated. Let's slow that down. It's really fast. And we can also switch to the back and change how much that occurs, so the scale of it. So this is the first one, and we can scale that down so it doesn't affect it so much. I believe I'm using the right one. I am. Cool. Now see, it moves in smaller increments, whereas before it was moving in wider increments like this. Alright, I have another instance of Europa in a different MIDI file for the melody, and I'm going to use grain to control it via CV. So grain, notice the back of grain looks real similar to Europa. Basically the same. It is the same except for the diagrams. Let's go ahead and take LFO1, right, from grain, and we're going to send that to, we're going to take LFO1 and send that to, where is it at? CV output 1, right? And let's turn this up, and LFO1 will be here, but for now let's flip to the back, and we're going to take CV out 1 and put that into CV in 1. And then let's have CV in 1 control our resonance on the filter, right? So filter, well, we're not using the filter in this patch, so let's instead use, let's use a distortion amount. And this is this. And we can do something that's a little bit more audible, like for example, let's go with the reverb amount. And you can hear how that modulates. So definitely experiment with using different devices as CV. Let's go ahead and add a Kong, and it's in instruments, and I can't think straight. Alright, we got a Kong now. Let's take our audio and put this into the Kong, if it'll allow me to do that. There we go. Output back up to where we took it. And now we can control some things here. So let's add tape echo. And I want to control this. So let's add, what should we do? Let's keep this green and let's take CV out up into rotary 2. Right. Let's actually go into CV1. And now inside of here we have our Kong, which is under Kong 1, and we went under CV1. So we'll change that to the source, and we can now do our global effects, and it's bus effects. P1 would control the wobble. And we're doing that we want to do that with CV out 2, so we need to set that up. So let's get LFO2 going to CV out 2. Out 2, 100%, LFO2. Let's do beat sync and put it on 4/4. Now we hear that working. And we also see it moving. Whoops. Now let's go a step further and use, let's say, a ring modulator. Now, if we want to use this ring modulator and have that go back and forth, we can also do that. So let's go ahead and send this LFO1 from the subtractor up to rotary 1. And let's have rotary 1 control, what do we have this under? Master Effects P1. So rotary 1, Master Effects P1, and we see that changing back and forth, and this will also move it if we want to. Kind of counterproductive, but it does allow extra CV inputs if you would like extra CV inputs. So that is part 2 of Combinator 2.0. It could also be an episode of, what did I call that? Cable Chaos that I started way back when I first began doing this channel. Let me know what you would like to see next. It's all culture, kickback, and cook up. The purpose of tutorials like these are not necessarily to enhance your workflow, but to enhance your creativity. A lot of us get caught up in constant ways of in finding ways to constantly make our workflow faster and better, but we don't take the time out to be creative and experiment with new things. So this is what this video is for.